It was supposed to be a happy occasion, my 27th birthday. I had driven back to my parents' house in San Francisco, expecting a quiet dinner, maybe a cake. But as soon as I walked through the door, I could feel the tension in the air. My mom was in the kitchen, slamming pots and pans while my dad sat silently in the living room, pretending to read the newspaper. My brother Ben was nowhere to be seen, probably holed up in his room as usual. I tried to ignore the atmosphere and greeted them cheerfully. "Hey, Mom, Dad, smells good in here. What's for dinner?" Mom turned around, her face flushed with anger. "Oh, so you finally decided to show up, huh? Too busy with your fancy job to care about your family?" I was taken aback. "Mom, what are you talking about? I'm here, aren't I? It's my birthday," she scoffed. "Birthday? You think that gives you the right to neglect us? We've been struggling and you're off living your high life in the city." I felt a knot forming in my stomach. This again. For years I've been supporting my parents financially. Ever since I landed my job as a software engineer, I've been sending them money every month. $2,000 for the mortgage, plus extra for car payments, utilities, you name it. And yet, here she was, making me feel like I wasn't doing enough. "Mom, I send you money every month. I pay for almost everything. What more do you want from me?" She pointed a finger at me. "It's not just about money, Alex. It's about gratitude. You think you're so special because you have a good job? Your brother Ben is going through a tough time and you don't even care." Ben, my older brother, 30 years old, still living at home, unemployed, with no real plans for the future. My parents have always favored him, calling him their golden child, while I was the one who had to be responsible, the one who had to take care of everything. "I do care, Mom, but Ben needs to start taking responsibility for himself. He's 30, he can't keep relying on you and Dad forever." That's when she lost it. "How dare you? You're the ungrateful one. After all we've done for you, this is how you repay us? Get out. Get out of this house and never come back." I stood there, stunned. My dad finally looked up from his newspaper but said nothing. I could see Ben peeking from his room, a smirk on his face. "Fine," I said, my voice shaking. "If that's what you want, I'll leave." I packed a bag with some clothes and essentials, my hands trembling. As I walked out the door, I heard my mom shouting behind me, "And don't think you can come crawling. Back when you need something." I got into my car and drove away, tears streaming down my face. As I looked in the rearview mirror, I saw my childhood home shrinking into the distance. A part of me felt relieved to finally be free from the constant guilt trips and demands. But another part felt sad, wondering if I had just lost my family forever. That night I checked into a hotel, too upset to go back to my apartment just yet. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying the scene over and over in my mind. Was I really ungrateful? Had I not done enough for my family? The next morning I decided it was time to move on. I found a nice apartment in the city, closer to my work, and started fresh. I threw myself into my job, made new friends, and even started dating someone special. Life was good, better than it had been in a long time. But deep down, I knew that the rift with my family wasn't healed, and I had a feeling that this wasn't the end of it. Before that fateful birthday, my life had been a balancing act. By day, I was Alex, the successful software engineer at a top tech company in San Francisco, earning a salary that allowed me to live comfortably. But by night, and on weekends, I was the son who had to constantly prove his worth to his family. Every month, like clockwork, I transferred $2,000 to my parents' account for the mortgage. Additionally, I covered their car payments, helped with groceries, and even paid for Ben's therapy sessions when he claimed to be depressed. Again, it wasn't that I didn't want to help. I did. But it felt like no matter how much I gave, it was never enough. My parents had a way of making me feel guilty for everything. If I didn't call often enough, I was neglectful. If I didn't visit, I was selfish. And if I ever suggested that Ben should get a job or contribute somehow, I was met with accusations of being jealous or unsupportive. Ben, on the other hand, was the golden child. He could do no wrong in my parents' eyes. Even though he was older than me, he had never held a steady job, bounced from one failed venture to another, and still lived at home, rent-free. My parents made excuses for him. He's creative. He needs time to find himself. Meanwhile, I was expected to be the rock, the provider. I remember one time, about a year before my birthday incident, I had finally had enough. I told my parents that I couldn't keep funding their lifestyle indefinitely, that I needed to save for my own future. My mom's response: "After all we've sacrificed for you, this is how you treat us. We took care of you when you were little, and now you won't even help us in our old age." That guilt trip worked, as it always did. I backed down, continued sending the money, and tried to convince myself that it was my duty. But deep down, I knew something had to change. I just didn't know how or when. Fast forward to my 27th birthday. I had hoped that maybe, just maybe, we could have a normal family celebration. I even bought gifts for everyone. A new cookbook for Mom since she loved cooking. A set of golf clubs for Dad knowing he enjoyed the sport. And for Ben, a subscription to a job-finding service, half jokingly, half seriously. When I arrived, the house was quiet. Too quiet. No decorations, no cake, no nothing. Mom was in the kitchen, but instead of preparing a feast, she was just heating up some frozen pizza. Dad was in his recliner, remote in hand, flipping through channels. Ben was, as usual, in his room, probably playing video games. "Happy birthday?" "To me," I muttered under my breath. Mom heard me and snapped, "Oh, so you think you deserve a parade or something? We're not made of money, you know. Unlike some people who have fancy jobs and can afford to throw their cash around." I bit my tongue. "Mom, I appreciate everything you do. I just thought we could have a nice dinner together." She slammed a plate down on the table. "Dinner's ready. Eat if you want." The meal was tense. No one spoke much. Dad asked about work. I gave a brief update, and that was it. Ben didn't even come out of his room. After dinner, I tried to lighten the mood. "Hey, I got you guys some presents." I handed out the gifts. Mom looked at the cookbook and said, "Oh, great. Another thing to collect dust." Dad seemed pleased. With the golf clubs, at least. Ben, when I finally got him to open his door, looked at the job subscription and laughed. "Nice try, little bro. I'm good where I am." That's when Mom started in again. "You know, Alex, maybe if you weren't so focused on your own life, you'd see that your brother needs support. But no, you're too busy being Mr. Independent." I felt my frustration boiling over. "Mom, I support this family more than anyone. I pay for almost everything. When was the last time Ben contributed anything?" She stood up, her face red. "Don't you dare talk about your brother like that. He's going through a lot, and you have no idea what it's like. You're just like your father, cold and unfeeling." Dad shifted uncomfortably in his chair but said nothing. "Mom, that's not fair. I'm here, aren't I? On my birthday, no less. What more do you want from me?" She pointed towards the door. "I want you to leave. If you can't appreciate what we've done for you, then get out. And don't come back until you learn some respect." I stared at her, disbelief washing over me. "You're serious?" "Dead serious. Get out." I looked at Dad, pleading with my eyes for him to say something, anything, but he just looked away. Fine. If that's how they wanted it, so be it. I grabbed my jacket and headed for the door. As I opened it, Mom called after me. "And don't think you can stop sending money. We still need that." I turned around, anger flaring. "You know what, Mom? If you think I'm so ungrateful, maybe I should stop sending money altogether. See how you like that." Her eyes widened. "You wouldn't dare. Watch me." I slammed the door behind me and stormed to my car. As I drove away, I felt a mix of emotions. Anger, sadness, relief. Maybe this was what I needed to finally break free. But little did I know, this was just the beginning of a much larger conflict. 6 months had passed since that fateful birthday, when I left my parents' house in San Francisco. In that time, I had built a new life for myself in the city. I moved into a modern apartment closer to my work at TechCorp, where I had recently been promoted to senior software engineer. The promotion came with a significant raise, allowing me to enjoy life more fully. I made new friends at work, colleagues, who shared my passion for technology and innovation. We often went out for drinks after work, or attended industry events together. Last month, a group of us took a vacation to Europe, exploring cities like Paris and Rome. It was a dream come true. But perhaps the best part of my new life was meeting Sarah. We met at a company party and hit it off immediately. She was intelligent, witty, and understood the pressures of our field. We started dating soon after, and our relationship was blossoming. One Tuesday evening, as Sarah and I were watching a movie at my place, my phone rang. It was my mom. I hadn't spoken to her since leaving 6 months ago. "Hello?" "Alex, thank God you answered. We're in big trouble. The bank is foreclosing on our house." My heart sank. "What? How is that possible? I've been sending you money every month. Your father lost his job last year, and with Ben not working, we've been struggling. We used your money for necessities, but it wasn't enough. Now we're 8 months behind on the mortgage." I felt anger rising inside me. "Mom, why didn't you tell me sooner? I could have helped more." "We didn't want to burden you further," she said tearfully. "But now we have no choice. Can you please send us some money to catch up on the payments?" I took a deep breath. "Mom, I need to think about this. Let me look into it first. Hurry, Alex. The bank is coming next week to finalize the foreclosure. I hung up and turned to Sarah, who looked concerned. My parents are losing their house, I explained. They're behind on mortgage payments despite me sending them money. That doesn't sound right, Sarah said. Maybe you should check with the bank. The next day, I called the bank and spoke with a representative after verifying my identity. Sir, your parents' mortgage is indeed 8 months in arrears, the representative confirmed. However, we see regular deposits from your account into their general savings account. So they've been saving my money instead of paying the mortgage? I asked incredulously. It seems so, he replied. I thanked him and hung up, feeling betrayed. I decided to call Ben to get more information. Ben, what's going on with Mom and Dad's finances? Ben sighed. It's bad, Alex. Dad's unemployed and I'm still looking for work. Mom said you were covering everything. I was sending money for the mortgage and bills, I said sharply. But apparently they haven't been paying the mortgage. Wait, really? That's weird, Ben said. Have they been giving you money? I asked. Well, yeah, they give me some for living expenses since I'm not working. How much? About $500 a month, he admitted. I did the math in my head. If I was sending $2,000 a month and they were giving Ben $500, where was the rest going? I need to talk to Mom and Dad, I said. I called my mom back. Mom, why hasn't my money been used for the mortgage? There was a pause. We had other expenses, Alex. Ben needed help with his car repairs and there were medical bills. Mom, $2,000 a month should cover all that and more, I said firmly. We got behind on payments, she admitted. We were hoping to catch up. Well, now you're facing foreclosure, I pointed out. Alex, please help us, she begged. I sighed. I'll see what I can do, but I need to make sure my money is used properly from now on. I decided to set up automatic payments directly to the mortgage company for $1,500 a month from my account. But first, I needed to address the back payments. Mom, how much do you need to bring the mortgage current? About $20,000, she said. I nearly choked on my coffee. $20,000, that's a lot of money. Alex, we're desperate, she pleaded. I don't have that kind of cash, I said honestly. Can't you take a loan or something? No, Mom, I'm not going into debt for this. So you're just going to let us lose our home? She cried. I felt torn between helping my family and protecting myself from being taken advantage of. Let me think about it, I said finally. After discussing it with Sarah, I decided to offer $5,000 to help with the immediate crisis. When I told my mom, she was furious. $5,000 isn't enough, we need $20,000. That's all I can afford right now, I said firmly. You're useless, she screamed before hanging up. I felt hurt but also relieved that I had set a boundary. Little did I know, this was just the beginning of a larger conflict. After that heated phone call, I decided to dig deeper into my parents' financial situation. I needed to know where all the money I had been sending had gone. If they were really as broke as they claimed, why hadn't they used my contributions to pay the mortgage? I started by calling the bank again, this time asking for a detailed statement of their account activity over the past year. After some back and forth and providing proof of my identity and relationship to my parents, they agreed to send me a redacted version of the statements. When I received the statements, I pored over them carefully. What I found was shocking. First, I saw that while I had been sending $2,000 every month, there were also regular withdrawals of $1,000 labeled as cash advances. Additionally, there were payments to various creditors but not consistently for the mortgage. Then I noticed something even more disturbing. Large transfers to Ben's bank account. Over the past 6 months, my parents had transferred $3,000 each month to Ben, far more than the $500 he had mentioned. I called Ben immediately. Ben, what's this about Mom and Dad giving you $3,000 a month? He sounded nervous. Well, they said it was to help me get back on my feet. I've been investing in some business opportunities, but they haven't panned out yet. Investing? With whose money? Mine. Look, Alex, they wanted to help me. You're doing well, so they thought it was okay. I can't believe this. So while I'm busting my ass to support the family, you're blowing my money on failed investments? It's not like that, Alex. I was trying to make something of myself. Well, it didn't work, did it? And now Mom and Dad are about to lose their house because they've been funding your pipe dreams instead of paying their bills. Ben was silent. I didn't know it was that bad. Of course you didn't. You never think about anyone but yourself. I hung up, fuming. I needed to confront my parents about this. I called my mom. Mom, I got the bank statements. Why have you been giving Ben $3,000 a month from my money? She stammered. Alex, it's not what you think. Ben needed help and we thought since you were doing well. Mom, that's not your money to give away. It was for the household expenses, not for Ben's. Get-rich-quick schemes. Alex, he's your brother. Family helps family. Not when it means neglecting your own responsibilities. You've let the mortgage go unpaid while funding Ben's lifestyle. That's not fair to me or to Dad. Your dad agreed to it too, she said, defensively. I doubt that. Dad probably didn't even know the details. There was a pause. Alex, please, we're sorry. We didn't mean for this to happen. Can you please help us now? We'll make it right. How? By promising to pay me back when... You have no income? Mom, I can't keep doing this. Alex, if you don't help us, we'll be on the streets. Is that what you want? I took a deep breath. No, that's not what I want. But I can't enable this behavior anymore. I'll give you $5,000 to help with the immediate crisis, but that's it. You need to figure out the rest on your own. She started crying again. You're abandoning us, Alex, just like your father said you would. Dad said that? Well, not exactly, but he thinks you're too selfish. I felt a stab of pain. Mom, I'm not selfish. I've been supporting you for years, but there has to be a limit. I hung up, feeling drained. I needed to talk to someone about this. I called Sarah. Hey, Sarah, can I come over? I need to vent. Of course, Alex, I'm here for you. When I arrived at her place, I told her everything I had discovered. She listened patiently, then said, Alex, it sounds like your parents have been taking advantage of you for a long time. You need to set firm boundaries. I know, but it's hard. They're my family. Family doesn't mean you have to let them walk all over you. Maybe you should consider cutting them off financially completely. But what if they really do end up homeless? Then maybe that's what needs to happen for them to learn their lesson. Sometimes tough love is necessary. I nodded slowly. You might be right, but it's scary to think about. Over the next few weeks, I tried to distance myself from the situation. I sent the $5,000 as promised, but made it clear that was all I could do. My parents continued to call and text, begging for more money, but I ignored them. Then one day there was a knock on my apartment door. I opened it to find my parents standing there, looking disheveled and tired. Alex, we have nowhere else to go. The bank took the house. Can we stay with you for a while? I was stunned. What, you lost the house already? My mom nodded, tears in her eyes. Yes, we couldn't catch up on the payments. We're homeless now. I looked at my dad, who seemed ashamed. Son, we know we've messed up. We're sorry. Please, just let us stay until we can figure something out. I hesitated. Part of me wanted to slam the door in their faces, but another part couldn't bear to see them like this. Fine, I said reluctantly. You can stay, but there are conditions. First, you both need to find jobs as soon as possible. Second, you have to contribute to household expenses. Third, no more enabling Ben. He needs to stand on his own 2 feet. They agreed quickly, probably just relieved to have a roof over their heads. As they moved in, I set up the spare room for them and laid down the ground rules. It was awkward having them in my space, but I tried to make the best of it. However, old habits die hard. My mom started making comments about my lifestyle, saying I was wasting money on unnecessary things like going out with friends or taking vacations. My dad was mostly quiet, but I could tell he was uncomfortable. One evening after dinner, my mom said, Alex, we were thinking, maybe you could lend us some money to start a small business. Your dad has always wanted to open a hardware store. I almost laughed. Mom, I'm not lending you any more money. You need to get jobs first. But Alex, with your help, we could really make something of ourselves. No, Mom, that's not happening. You need to be self-sufficient. She pouted, but dropped the subject. A few weeks later, I came home from work to find my apartment a mess. Dishes were piled in the sink, laundry was everywhere, and my parents were watching TV. Mom, Dad, what happened here? I thought we agreed you'd help with chores. My mom waved her hand. Oh, we were tired today. We'll clean up tomorrow. I felt my temper rising. No, you'll clean up now. This is my apartment and I expect it to be kept clean. They grumbled but started tidying up. This pattern continued for several months. My parents would promise to look for jobs but never seemed to find anything. They lived off my generosity, and I was starting to resent it. Then, one day, while I was cleaning out the closet where they kept their things, I found a stack of bank statements. Curiosity got the better of me, and I opened them. What I saw made my jaw drop. There were statements showing large balances in savings accounts, hundreds of thousands of dollars. There were also investment portfolios and even a certificate of deposit for $500,000. I couldn't believe my eyes. My parents had been sitting on a fortune while begging me for money. I confronted them immediately. Mom, Dad, what is this? You have all this money and you've been asking me for handouts? My mom looked panicked. Alex, it's not what you think. That money is for retirement. We can't touch it. Why not? You're using my money instead. Why didn't you use this to pay the mortgage or support yourselves? My dad spoke up. Son, that money is from an inheritance your grandmother left us. We were told not to touch it until we're older. But you're using my money now, which is essentially the same thing. You've been deceiving me all this time. My mom started crying. We didn't want to use the inheritance. We thought you could help us out temporarily. Temporarily? It's been years, and you let me think you were broke while you have all this wealth hidden away. I felt betrayed and angry. Get out, I said quietly. What? My mom gasped. Get out of my apartment. I don't want you here anymore. But where will we go? My dad asked. I don't care. You have plenty of money to find a place to live. You don't need me. They packed their things and left, looking shocked and hurt. But I felt a sense of relief wash over me. Finally, I was free from their manipulation. In the end, I learned a valuable lesson. Sometimes you have to set boundaries with family, even if it means cutting them off financially. It's not easy, but it's necessary for your own well-being. And as for Ben, well, that's another story altogether. After discovering the truth about my parents' financial mismanagement, I felt a mix of anger and betrayal. I had been sending them money every month, thinking it was going towards keeping a roof over their heads, only to find out they were using it for Ben's failed investments and saving their own inheritance. It was time to confront them, but I needed to do it on my terms. I decided to call them, not wanting to see them in person just yet. I dialed my mom's number, my heart pounding. Mom, we need to talk about the money I've been sending you. There was a pause. Alex, we've been through this. We're sorry, okay? We made some mistakes. Mistakes? You let the house go into foreclosure while sitting on hundreds of thousands of dollars in savings. That's not a mistake. That's deception. Alex, that money is for retirement, she insisted. We can't touch it. Then why were you taking my money and giving it to Ben for his get-rich-quick schemes? He told me you've been sending him $3,000 a month. That's to help him get back on his feet, she defended. He's your brother, Alex. You should understand. I understand that you've been using my hard-earned money to fund his lifestyle while neglecting your own responsibilities. I'm done, Mom. I'm not sending any more money. Alex, you can't do this to us, she pleaded. We're your parents. We raised you, fed you, clothed you. Now you're just going to abandon us? I didn't abandon you. I've been supporting you for years, but I can't. Keep enabling this behavior. You need to take responsibility for your finances. My dad got on the line. Son, listen to your mother. We're in a tough spot here. Can't you help us out just this once? Dad, I've helped enough. You have savings you can use. Why should I go into debt to bail you out when you have the means? To help yourselves? It's not that simple, Alex, he said quietly. That money is for our future. And what about my future? I've been sacrificing my own savings to keep you afloat, no more. My mom started crying. You're so cold, Alex. After everything we've done for you, this is how you repay us. You're no son of mine. Those words stung, but I stood my ground. I'm sorry you feel that way, Mom, but I have to look out for myself now. I hung up, feeling a mix of relief and guilt. To protect myself from further emotional manipulation, I blocked their numbers. It was a hard decision, but I needed space to think. Over the next few days, I tried to focus on work and my relationship with Sarah. She was supportive, reminding me that I had done the right thing by setting boundaries. But deep down, I worried about what would happen to them. Would they really become homeless? Could I live with that on my conscience? Little did I know, the situation was about to escalate in a way I never expected. A few weeks after blocking my parents' numbers, there was a knock on my apartment door late one evening. I wasn't expecting anyone, and my heart sank when I opened it to find my parents standing there, looking disheveled and tired, with suitcases in hand. Alex, we have nowhere else to go, my mom said, tears streaming down her face. The bank took the house. We're homeless now. I was stunned. What, already? I thought you had time to figure things out. We tried, my dad said, his voice low. But without your help, we couldn't catch up on the payments. Please, son, let us stay with you for a while. I hesitated. Part of me wanted to slam the door in their faces, but another part couldn't bear to see them like this. They were my parents, after all. Fine, I said reluctantly. You can stay, but there are conditions. First, you both need to find jobs as soon as possible. Second, you have to contribute to household expenses. Third, no more enabling Ben. He needs to stand on his own 2 feet. They agreed quickly, probably just relieved. To have a roof over their heads, I set up the spare room for them and laid down the ground rules. It was awkward having them in my space, but I tried to make the best of it. I hoped this would be a temporary arrangement and they'd get back on their feet soon. But old habits die hard. Within days, my mom started making comments about my lifestyle. "Alex, do you really need to go out for dinner with Sarah every week? That's so expensive, we could use that money." "Mom, that's my money and I'm not wasting it. You need to focus on finding a job," I replied, trying to keep my cool. My dad was mostly quiet, but I could tell he was uncomfortable. He spent most of his time watching TV, while my mom would hover around trying to guilt-trip me into giving them more money. One evening after dinner, my mom said, "Alex, we were thinking, maybe you could lend us some money to start a small business. Your dad has always wanted to open a hardware store." I almost laughed. "Mom, I'm not lending you any more money. You need to get jobs first." "But Alex, with your help, we could really make something of ourselves," she persisted. "No, Mom, that's not happening. You need to be self-sufficient," I said firmly. She pouted but dropped the subject. A few weeks later, I came home from work to find my apartment a mess. Dishes were piled in the sink, laundry was everywhere, and my parents were watching TV. "Mom, Dad, what happened here? I thought we agreed you'd help with chores." My mom waved her hand. "Oh, we were tired today. We'll clean up tomorrow." I felt my temper rising. "No, you'll clean up now. This is my apartment, and I expect it to be kept clean." They grumbled but started tidying up. This pattern continued for several months. My parents would promise to look for jobs but never seemed to find anything. They lived off my generosity, and I was starting to resent it. One day, while cleaning out the closet where they kept their belongings, I stumbled upon a stack of bank statements. Curiosity got the better of me and I opened them. What I saw made my jaw drop. There were statements showing large balances in savings accounts, over $300,000, and even investment portfolios worth hundreds of thousands more. I couldn't believe it. They had been sitting on a fortune while begging me for money and losing. Their house? I decided to confront them, but first I needed to gather my thoughts. The discovery of my parents' hidden wealth left me reeling. Over $300,000 in savings, plus investment portfolios. It was clear they had been deceiving me all along. They had let me think they were broke, while sitting on a fortune, using my money to fund Ben's failed ventures in their own comfort. I couldn't let this slide. That evening I confronted them in the living room. "Mom, Dad, what is this?" I demanded, waving the bank statements. "You have over $300,000 in savings and you've been asking me for handouts?" My mom paled. "Alex, it's not what you think. That money is for retirement. We can't touch it." "Why not? You've been using my money instead. Why didn't you use this to pay the mortgage or support yourselves?" I asked, my voice rising. My dad spoke up. "Son, that money is from an inheritance your grandmother left us. We were told not to touch it until we're older." "But you're using my money now, which is essentially the same thing. You've been deceiving me all this time," I said, feeling betrayed. My mom started crying. "We didn't want to use the inheritance. We thought you could help us out temporarily." "Temporarily? It's been years, and you let me think you were broke while you have all this wealth hidden away," I said, my anger boiling over. I felt deeply hurt. They had manipulated me, played on my guilt, and taken advantage of my generosity. "Get out," I said quietly. "What?" my mom gasped. "Leave my apartment. I don't want you here anymore," I repeated. "But where will we go?" my dad asked, looking shocked. "You have plenty of money to find a place to live." "You don't need me," I said coldly. They packed their things and left, looking hurt and defeated. But as they walked out the door, I felt a sense of relief wash over me. Finally, I was free from their manipulation. In the days that followed, I reflected on what had happened. It wasn't easy cutting them off, but it was necessary for my own mental health and financial stability. I had learned a valuable lesson. Sometimes you have to set boundaries with family, even if it means letting go. Sarah was supportive, reminding me that I had done the right thing. "You can't keep sacrificing yourself for people who don't appreciate it," she said. I also thought about Ben. He would have to figure out his own path without relying on our parents or my support. It was time for him to grow up. Moving forward, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. I was focusing on my career, my relationship with Sarah, and my own well-being. It wasn't easy, but it was worth it. In the end, I realized that setting boundaries is crucial in maintaining healthy relationships, even with family. That's the end of today's story. Did things turn out the way you thought, or were there some surprises along the way? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think. If you enjoyed this journey, don't forget to hit the like button. And if you haven't joined the community yet, now's the perfect time. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you're always the first to catch new stories. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next adventure.